Right now, we're not even experiencing the worst of climate change and natural disasters. Yet, we're already living in a world where this is a reality. Emissions need to be cut to avoid a level of heating humanity cannot handle. We need net zero emissions by 2050. So here's what you need to know in numbers. There is no doubt our climate is heating up, and this graph proves it. It shows how much the climate has heated or cooled over the past century. For example, in 1994, the average temperature in Australia was 0.18 degrees hotter than the long-term average. Scientists say we need to avoid consistently hitting a rise of 1.5 degrees here to stave off the worst of climate change, and not just in Australia, but globally. And our approach to stopping that is a 43% emissions reduction target. But will it be enough to hit net zero by 2050, which is the bar set for Australia to carry its weight in fighting the climate crisis? This graph tracks Australia's emissions since 1990. Our 43% target is measured from 2005 here. And looking at this graph, it looks like emissions have really gone down. But this graph doesn't tell the full story, because these figures include something called land use change, and forestry. Essentially, this category captures all the change in the amount of carbon stored in trees, other vegetation, and soil. It's important, but the changes in this do not reflect the actual reduction in emissions from fossil fuels and other dirty industries. When we take out land use, the data looks more like this. And that's not good. See, our emissions have actually gone up. So now that we know where we're starting from, let's see how much needs to be cut to get to net zero by 2050. If we keep going on the current trajectory, official projections have Australia here by 2030, with the road to 2050 looking like this. With the government's new 2030 targets, the road to net zero looks more like this. What we do in Australia is important. Looking at this map, we can see our per capita fossil fuel emissions stands shoulder to shoulder with giants like the United States. Even when you break it down by fuel sector, whether it be coal, oil, or gas, we're still near the top. So that brings us back to the question, is 43% by 2030 enough to get us to net zero by 2050? While you're watching this video, this many tons of carbon have been released into the atmosphere. And only time and effort will tell if we can make up this gap before it's too late.